$30,000 into an old Japanese Akiya, and the obvious question is whether you're better off gutting it or tearing it down and starting over. For a meaningful share of Akiya on the market, that question has a hidden precondition nobody checks first: whether you're legally allowed to rebuild on that lot at all. Japan's Building Standards Act requires a property to have at least 2 meters of frontage on a public road, at least 4 meters wide before new construction is permitted. Sounds like a technicality. It isn't. Huge numbers of older Japanese houses sit on narrow lanes that predate this rule, built long before anyone required that kind of access. And those lots are now formally classified as existing non-conforming. Legal to keep standing exactly as they are, but not legal to tear down and rebuild. If a property falls into that category, the $30,000 question isn't renovate versus rebuild anymore. It's renovate, or don't buy this particular house. You can maintain, repair, and extensively renovate an existing non-conforming structure. You generally cannot demolish it and put up something new in its place, at least not without a road-widening setback that can make reconstruction impractical or impossible, depending on the lot. This is exactly the kind of detail a listing photo will never mention, and a foreign buyer has no obvious way to check without asking. On a lot that does meet the road access requirement, the comparison becomes a real financial one. $30,000 renovates a meaningful portion of a modest Akiya: new wiring, plumbing, insulation, structural reinforcement, but it typically doesn't fully replace a building. New construction in Japan runs considerably more per square meter, which usually only pencils out on a smaller footprint or when the existing structure has damage severe enough that renovation would cost nearly as much anyway. Before comparing $30,000 of renovation against the cost of a full rebuild, the actual first question is whether the lot even permits rebuilding in the first place. That's a road access and zoning question, not a budget question, and it's answerable before you ever put in an offer, usually through the same judicial scrivener or agent handling the rest of the paperwork. Renovate or rebuild is a real decision on plenty of Akiya. On plenty of others, it was never actually a choice, because the lot itself only allows one of the two options. Check which situation you're in before you fall in love with a number, $30,000 or otherwise, that assumes a path that might not be legally open to you. If this made Japan's empty house market a little clearer, subscribe to Akiya Handbook, the channel that explains how Japan's cheap houses actually work, honestly, and without selling you anything. There is also a free guide waiting in the description, the Akiya Buyer's Starter Guide, How to Buy a Cheap House in Japan Without Getting Burned. 11 chapters on the truth about so-called free houses, the hidden costs, and who should not buy. No hype, and completely free. The link is below. Thanks for watching.